Okay, thanks for staying with us. Moving on to other topics. Earlier this year, the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Dr. Tunji Bello, asked residents of Lagos State to prepare for likely consequences of 240 to 270 days of rain this year. Predicted that by March 19th to November 22nd, we'll experience these rains. We have with us the Permanent Secretary, Office of the Drainage Services and Water Resources, Engineer Nurudeen Shodeinde, to address this issue. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good to have you on the show with us.
Thank you very much.
Engineer Nurudeen, so obviously the rains are here. There's been quite a bit of flooding in Lagos State. Could you tell us what's been done to clear the drainages and ensure that people move out of these flooded areas as soon as possible?
Thank you very much. The state government is doing a lot to address the issue of flooding. Number one, earlier in the year, like you said, the Honorable Commissioner mentioned that we will be cleaning all major channels, the primary channels and the secondary collectors, while we were urging the residents and local governments to clean the tertiary drains. As I'm speaking to you, we've done quite a number of the primary channels, not all, but we've touched critical ones that have been causing so much flood inundation in the state. And we're still doing this exercise. Will run until September, October, when the rain is expected to peak, and November, when we'll start having some reduction in the rainfall and a final cessation of rainfall. In addition to the cleaning exercise we're doing, we're providing secondary collectors in 42 locations in the state. For your information, the Ijegbo community that came to your program the other day that was invited, we're doing 2 channels to the flood, the Divine Estate and the other estate that were being landlocked by the tank farm. So we've been able to resolve the issue of the Ijegbo community.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right.
I wanted to know how much of data Lagos State has over the years for areas prone to flooding and what they've done in terms of, because Lagos keeps expanding commercially, like the area you mentioned, there's continuous commercial expansion happening there. From the Ijegun to the Abule-Osun axis, you have terminals every day springing up, and this is an area along the lagoon. So what does Lagos do with the data, if they do have the data that they gather over the years? What do they do? Does it inform how they allow buildings to be built and or commercial activities to spring up in such areas?
Well, thank you. For your information, I am not in charge of land administration. My work squarely sits on drainage maintenance. But if you look at Lagos now, like you said, what is left in terms of land bank is more of a floodplain. Most land in Lagos now is a floodplain where water is supposed to sit until it gets back into the atmosphere. So we're creating a synergy with the Lands Bureau and the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, whereby before any square meter of land in Lagos is allocated, we must ensure that the drainage infrastructure necessary to ensure that flooding is mitigated is provided by whoever is developing. So that is why we on our own, when we see development in wetland areas, we challenge them and we encourage them to do what they have to do to ensure that there is no flooding. But until that process becomes very seamless in governance, whereby the Lands Bureau, Ministry of Physical Planning that's supposed to give approval for building, development plan, and our office are able to have a good interaction. But we will continue to ensure that development in the floodplains are regulated as it were.
Okay, Engineer Shodeinde, the 4 local government areas where residents are being asked to relocate, and I've never heard that done before. So my question is it that the flooding is getting worse or that the management of it is getting better? So now we're able to warn people about the dangers that is about to come to them.
That statement we didn't say anybody should leave any four local government. What we said, it was just like a pre-warning that it has been predicted that some areas are going to be prone to heavy flooding. And so we're saying, fine, while we cannot predict the intensity of the rainfall or the duration, which are key indices that causes flooding, we will need to be careful. Everybody needs to be careful that if perchance the rain in your area is creating any flood situation, you need to save your lives. We're not saying everybody should just pack out of their houses and leave now. Areas that we know will have river flooding, and these areas are are prone to flooding are sharing off. Areas along Ogun River. This is something that we know the Ogun Basin Development Authority has opened the dam, and the volume of release will increase progressively. So such low-lying areas that are floodplains that have not, made that nothing is existing to really prevent the flooding from happening. We're saying, be on the alert. When the river stage starts increasing, you need to move. That's what we're saying. So we now have a good handshake with OBDA, that's the River Basin Development Authority that manages the dam. So we have enough data to predict when this situation will happen. So such areas we are advising to be on the alert, and when the flooding starts, they need to move to protect their lives and their property. But for other areas in the state, the channels we provided are adequate, they're flowing. Yes, you'll get flash flooding, which is a result of the volume of water that is coming. But the conveyor system, which is the drainage channels, will still do its work and take the water away into the lagoon. Secondly, the issue of climate change is here. Before now, areas that never used to get flooded are not getting flooded because we are the most downstream of several river systems in the state. There is no how we can quickly collect the runoff and discharge it rapidly. There is no we're discharging to. A lot of our developments are in floodplains. So rapid discharge of water into the lagoon is not that, cannot be achieved within a short time frame. So there would be some level of backflow that will cause flash flooding. But within a couple of hours, 1-2 hours, we expect that all those runoff will eventually enter the lagoon.
All right, let's go on a quick break. We'll come back and continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we still have with us the Permanent Secretary, Office of the Drainage Services and Water Resources, Engineer Nurudeen Shodeinde.
Yes,
you had a question, yes.
So, of course, as usual, every year we hear about the drainages, telling Lagosians to stop, filling in the drainages with waste. For me, I understand that's like a short-term management. I would like to know what the long-term plan is, especially collaboration with your what would we call it, commission, and with your ministry and the waste ministry. What are we doing? What are you doing together to just quell this and stop this, or reduce it even? The blockage of drainages.
Thank you. I think what I'll say here is that we need to realize that we need a lifestyle change in this part of the world. Solid waste management is the biggest challenge I have as an office. And like you said, there is an agency in charge of solid waste management. If my channels are left to do what they are designed to do, that means collect runoff and the silt, the grains of sand that flows with the runoff, we won't be having this much challenge. But what we have in the drain is actually garbage, refuse. And Lagos State has a PSP model in place, which we're trying to grow. And I think Loma is working on that. But I can tell you today, even if the PSP is very effective, how about those of us that are riding on the road and have this habit of just throwing things on the floor. And even when you're trying to enforce as an individual, it has happened to me before. I stopped the car that somebody threw a PET bottle out of the window. I told the guy to go and pick the bottle. It's a yellow bus, a commercial bus. The passengers nearly mobbed me.
Wow.
Now, why am I delaying them? Am I government? I mean, so this mentality needs to change, because all these things we throw on the road, when it rains, it ends up in the channel. So the lifestyle change, everybody needs to decide that, yes, the environment matters, because I believe a lot of us give little or no interest to sustaining the environment, to make it healthy.
That is
but
very
all of
bad.
us need to be on the same page to make sure this happens.
And
Government is doing its best to put the PSP in shape. We're doing our best to clean the drain, but we need to stop daily activities that encourages the gathering of all this garbage in the drainage channels.
Right.
So, Engineer Shodeinde, you're very correct on that. I must commend that you were able to, you tried to stop the person who dumped to pick it up. But the truth is, the PSP or LOMA as it is not sufficient to deal with the waste in Lagos. And the system of landfill that we run is also very, very encouraging of flooding. Example is the one on the Elasu Sherry Road. What you see there is that an area that usually was free before is largely flooded now. That Igondo around the General Hospital area is always dealing with flood now because of that landfill. Also, the fact that we now have to resort to the truck pushers to take our waste. Nobody can control where it ends. They can take it to any drainage, any big canal, like the one in Jegu that you mentioned, and fill it there. So we need to have we need to be clear whether we want to recycle waste before we collect them, recycle them and turn them around to something else, or do not, end this landfill system.
Well, you're taking me out of my turf, but I'll try and manage your question.
What do you think? Prauk, I'm asking your personal opinion.
Well, number one, I am not sure your information about Igondo is correct.
I live in
There is no
Alimosho,
flooding in Igondo as I'm speaking to you, even when it rains. But what is happening in Igondo at the landfill side there is, I think they're doing some rehabilitation work there, and they're working on the road. Loma is working in the landfill. Public Works Corporation is working on the road. That information I have at my disposal.
You can verify the communities around the landfill are not dealing with flood. The houses there.
In terms of flooding, there is no flooding incidents in Igondo. But that's not the problem. The one I want to address here is this. Please, I want to beg you. There is a PSP service in every part of Lagos. I'm not saying we're getting it right, but it exists. Don't for any reason patronize a cart pusher. But I can tell you for free, the man cannot push from Surulere to Ojota. Neither can he push from Ikeja to Olusosun, to Solus or anywhere. He's going to push it straight to the next canal. That is, I'm giving you from, that is the next thing. So no matter how ineffective the PSP operation is as it is now, you have a right to call a Loma hotline. I don't have the number here, because I know they have a hotline for all their PSP operators. By the time we apply pressure on Loma, everything will fit into place eventually. But please don't for any reason patronize a cart pusher.
I'm saying it on live
bringing
now.
into my channel.
My estate, we do not have a collection, no PSP operator collecting waste there. And I can tell you that everybody in that resident in that estate resort to truck pushers.
What's the name of your estate, please?
Unique
I
estate.
tell you,
Unique
there
estate
will be a
of
PSP operator, but if I have your estate, I'll call the MD of Loma to tell the PSP man to come and meet you.
I've been on it.
You can always get that across to us. But every part of Lagos has a PSP operator allocated.
Okay.
That I know for a fact.
Recently, there was we heard issues of PSP operators actually defrauding the government. It was in the papers, where many of them actually, especially those who are the employers for these sweepers, there was an issue with that. So it's possible that we need an investigation Because this is not the first time Nima is saying this. She has always talked about the fact that, in fact, she has called out the MD of Loma several times, that in her entire neighborhood, there's hardly a PSP truck that's been assigned to that neighborhood. So maybe you can help us extend this to the acting DG of Loma to help us look into it to ensure that the right PSP is actually picking up in that neighborhood.
PSP assigned to that area, and let me know why he's not. We don't know the days of the week he will come for waste collection.
That's all we can take.
If I have your estate, the name of your estate and the location, I'll escalate for you.
Thank you, sir. That's all we can take on this. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you whenever we get more reports on issue of flooding in Lagos State. We've been speaking with the Permanent Secretary, Office of the Drainage Services and Water Resources, Engineer Nurudeen Shodeinde. When we come back, we'll go on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You can watch Your View on TVC every Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Nigerian time on DSTV channel 418, GOTV channel 27 and channel 47, StarTimes channel 121 and channel 307, Play TV